The year was 2016. 2017 maybe? I find myself sitting sulking at a party, listening to music that will cause a worse hangover than the drink in my hand. The usual. A jackass got the aux to play yet another DJ techno mix of Aluma Doluma, but a hand intervened. The aux changes hands, and a video with about 1200 views plays. And at that precise moment, as a raw drawl filled the room, my life changed forever. This is the brief but beautiful era of Kurangan. Tamil independent music has had a laborious life. Before the fire constantly a stepchild to Tamil cinema. Here, music needs a superstar at the helm. Only we have audio release functions. And let's face it, we kinda let folks add a U to words and become poetic. Against this, independent music was always set up to fail. In the 2000s and a decade after, there were no budgets, no marketing team, no entire villages to carry you. And just to cover songs. These constraints forced indie artists to be astonishingly creative with their format and content. Today, I want to take a minute to talk about the duo that I think left an indelible mark on the scene. Wait, what do you know about music? Who are you, man, to have an opinion? I learnt the drums when I was a kid, I suppose. I was good, man. My teacher made me write grade 8 of Trinity exams directly. Huh? Did I pass? No, I did not pass. But hey, he thought something of me, okay? I wonder what sound the sir's up to these days. Wait, that's him! You play with Kurangan? Nice! Okay, anyway, back to the video. We all know when Tamil indie music really started, right? Yeah, it's when Sean Roldan did... In all seriousness, bands like Sean Roldan and Friends, La Pongal, Urka hollered till they were heard. They set off the scene. They added legitimacy to the term Tamil indie. But these were large bands with fully produced songs, complex rhythm structures, and exceptionally talented musicians. Yet, they came, lingered around, left, came back. I don't know how to classify bands anymore. Enter a duo that's unlike anything I've just said. Keber and Tenma from Kurangan in the early 2010s, and over the next few years, scamper around to put together enough and just make under 25 songs. Yet, they hold a revered place in the city for their work and impact. To quote every lazy writer,
let's start at the beginning, one last time.
The year's 2010, this man adopts a moniker devoid of gender, religion, and caste and pens Azhagapurachi. He bands together with Tenma, a bassist, a music producer who had already carved a space for himself in the English indie scene. The two together belt out a genre-fluid tapestry that refused to sit into any pre-existing mold. Keber has expressed the desire to be a storyteller from early on in life and decided to apply these abilities in songwriting. Sure, he didn't have to build an entire world to get his ideas out. He got that through songs, you could tell a lot more in a lot less. This word economy, it's a trait that sustains with him, perhaps being the defining factor that allows Kurangan songs to punch you in the face, and do so a lot harder than their contemporaries. Let's establish some more context. The 2010s were almost like a middle child in terms of cultural identity. There was a heavy reliance on being relatable and likable, mining the nostalgia over already popular songs, and bands were struggling to carve their own identity, not succumb to doing cover songs and mashups. Most of our music is either love vibes or just posturing by a bunch of men. With YouTube came the concept of views, and in real time you could see how much of a hit you are. Amidst this cacophony of sounds, Azhagapurachi and all their forthcoming songs cut through like a hot knife in butter. Because for the first time, someone was this unapologetically authentic. Keber and Tenma explore some rattling questions about life and human nature whilst dabbling in a different mood. There is a reggae texture to Mani the Subhavam, a note to the human mind's uncanny ability to never really pay heed to any instruction. But from that, Pachai Perindu swings a hard left to craft a dreamy sequence. Just like the line suggests, the song is filled with soundscapes that sort of achieve in taking you anywhere. What rings true in each track is this dollop of authenticity in every word. Take the album's opening song and almost jingle about our city. Most artists would pander and romanticize the city. Not Keber. He does spend time on what the city has to offer. But they're actually personal joys. They're not a laundry list of monuments. Even his expression of love comes with the caveat that it's all under the sweltering, unforgiving heat of the sun. There is mischief in this exasperated expression. The honesty and playfulness with words sort of sticks. Keber realized that by going personal, he becomes more relatable. Their songs deal with the contradictions of human life, the unanswered questions bogging down minds for centuries, and the frustration of trying to leave your imprint as an artist. Keber and Tenma chose to spend their time asking and framing the very thoughts that rush to us when we spend a quiet moment alone. Interrogate every closely held belief and question why society runs on a set of rules and self-fulfilling myths. There is a level of articulation that brings clarity to the uncertainty of growing up in a confusing world. They show that one can marry deep philosophy to playful songmaking and birth an era of music where the point of listening was to actually pause for a second, absorb what is being said. Their songs, much like their name, is an amalgamation of a playful monkey and a thoughtful man. These were two artists who struggled to get their music produced. They were entirely dependent on patronage to record anything and were desperate for stage time. In fact, for the longest time, except for a handful of songs, if you had to listen to Kurangan, it were these live recordings, which I'm rather certain was recorded using a potato. Which meant that every performance mattered, every song important, and therefore every verse, every word, every tone crucial. All this deliberation forces Keber and Tenma to rely and dive deep into their core strengths and reinvent what it means to listen to a song. Yeah, it's intense pressure, but that's what creates solitaires. Kurangan songwriting can be broadly lauded for two factors, the profound substance and the playful stylization of it. Take the duo's most popular hit, Vasanam. The song follows a simple strumming pattern over which Keber labors over every syllable with a drawl that almost calms you down and makes you pause for a second, because it is important to pay attention to every word. I'll be honest, I don't get poetry. English music and a lot of local pop mostly just seems to be about vibes. You know what? I'm not ashamed. I don't get poetry. I'm like Robert De Niro from Meet the Parents. I'm scratching my head to understand how Puff the Dragon was about marijuana. But Keber manages the right words and plays them ever so perfectly that I'm forced to ponder and pore over every syllable. In this attention overdosed environment, it is a feat to get anyone to care and to care this much. Filled with questions that prod us on why we believe what we believe, the song feels like all those thoughts you wanted to ask the people around you as they just blapped away their truths. As society makes us hold certain belief systems, ideals and idols in high regard, but are these truly what we believe in? Or are we just merely parroting what our parents told us? Every word here carries value. There is no filler, no beating around the bush. The song isn't written with a catchy hook to make a viral reel. In fact, he almost writes like he's charged for every word. And that's one of Keber's key strengths. The man knows the value and economy of words like no one else. Every now and then, I almost complain that some of their songs are a tad too short. But on repeated listening, I understand that the length too, it's deliberate. True professionals get that less is actually more. That to bring focus and clarity, you need to restrict your vision. Keber's poetic economy isn't to say he has little to say. No. A handful of lines, but within it, there's an attempt to communicate ancient wisdoms. Philosopher of our times, he spent some of the most thought-provoking, heart-aching lines I've come across. Keber has this uncanny ability to be a soothing balm for those bogged down with the weight of the world, while at the same time hold and rattle the comforted ones. The songs here are so impactful not because he writes what most people feel, it's rather because he writes about what he feels strongest. And in that expression of authentic feeling, he's able to reach out to every person. Each song is a tango with a different philosopher. But that doesn't mean they made a laundry list of buzzwords and wrote around that. For example, take a retro where he invokes Nietzsche's God is dead and we killed him. The song results with the meaning of, well, meaning itself, I guess. Somewhere along the way, he even invokes Albert Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Nietzsche talks about how our quest for knowledge and answers kill the very concept we created to answer the unanswerable. So it is us who kills God with our science. The song ends in Andy Weir's universe, where he samples an idea from the egg about the lives we live, or should I say, every life we live. Then we get to Sudandira Murdaba, which feels like a sparring session with Thomas Hobbes, or is it a debate on determinism? Well, either way, what matters is that it grabs you by the scruff of your neck and asks a simple question. Are you really free? How much of your life is predetermined, and what does being free even mean? So much of our day runs on autopilot for the most part, and we don't even acknowledge it because it's wrapped around this cloak of free will. Arasan and Bhavan could be straight out of Machiavelli's Prince, as each line dances around what it takes to be an Arasan. This is one of those songs where you only have a poor quality MP3 to live with, and yet somehow The distorted, noisy, crunchy sound almost adds a layer of authenticity to the words that come out. It does feel like a chant bellowed out amongst throngs of revolutionaries. Mugubudi dabbles in some Jungian psychology with the idea of man and the mask he wears. It is a search for authenticity in a society where each person's hiding behind a mask. And that brings us to one of their biggest hits, David Foster Wallace. I've read and watched the speech over and over again, but it only makes sense when Kaber says, the speech itself is highly self-aware of the pitfalls of being preachy as it tries to put things into perspectives for graduates who are at the cusp of adulthood, wondering how to live their lives to the best. This song too is an attempt to show that we're all part of our own narratives and that it's important to be in the moment and realize that everything we're chasing for is right here around us. None of these ideologies that I've mentioned are name dropped to get some street cred. Rather, he does a reduction, similar to in cooking, where everything but the core essence is cooked away. What remains is powerful. And all that's left is to dress it up, which brings me to the stylization of the songs. Kaber is a lyrical gymnast. I'm talking Nadia Comaneci scoring a perfect 10 on that dismount kind of gymnast. Look at Oklahoma, their most playful number, where they use repetition to create almost a nursery rhyme of sorts. And of course, all that while delivering the perfect corollary to No Means No. The song's genius lies in it sounding like a juvenile's jingle, almost as if to suggest that the logic of gender and sexuality should be that simple for us to understand. That and Retro, great examples of how he uses repetition and alliteration to make words feel like an additional percussive accompaniment. And boy, he's an alliterative athlete and a half. I'm still not over the lyrical devilry of some of these songs. Retro opens with a brilliant stanza where words bounce around like the perfect DVD animation weight screen. In Needane, he employs the Andadi structure too. No, not that one. It's an old Tamil poetic device where the end of a line or verse sets up the next. I think Tamil poets have been using for ages. Kaber uses it to create almost a hypnotic back and forth, forming an intricate chain of interrogation. He takes heavy, pensive thoughts and makes it playful through every poetic device in his arsenal. Yeah, we've had phenomenal lyric writers and singers in Tamil history. I'm sure snooty Tamil bros and professors scoff at my simple mind being blown away. But the reason why Kaber's line rings so loudly is thanks to the arrangements by his bandmate, Tenma. Tenma understands the mood and atmosphere these thoughtful words require, almost to perfection. A guitarist and music producer par excellence, his production doesn't just speak quality, but across an album, you see an exquisite tapestry of tunes. He shows an innate understanding of what the weight of certain songs are and the need to dress them up and down based on the message. His production too can also be seen as a product of their circumstances. A lot of the songs are just plain stripped down to Kaber's words and Tenma's guitar, because that's the kind of stages they'd be performing in. His layers, when on top of one another, sound simple, yet luxurious. Like the fever dream of Pache Perandu or the deeply melancholic Mandamandan Kavyam. The tunes, they know their job. It's not to compete and prove its metal equal to the words, but rather create a platform and spotlight to shine on Kaber's words. In fact, compared to the later produced versions of David Foster Wallace or Mugamudi, still relate harder to the terrace gems where all there is to focus is them. It's almost like Tenma also believed that less is more. Maybe he also has that uncanny ability of knowing exactly what is right. Kurangan's story is a lot like other indie bands, but they are emblematic of the fact that you don't need millions of views. All you need is
the 1,000 true fans.
1,000 true fans.
1,000 true fans.
All you need is 1,000 true fans.
A handful of patrons would throng to every show and catch any glimpse of them live because, like I said, these aren't songs. They're a tincture to the heart. All that led to a concert in a small room that held twice the number of its capacity. Packed shoulder to shoulder, a bunch of us got to experience Kurangan in their full glory. This show was Mottamadi music even before Mottamadi music. The audience knew every word as well as the artist, because this was a room full of people deeply impacted by those two. It was proof that all you needed was 1,000 fans, but these were 1,000 fanatics. That launchpad to glory was all set, and then just like that, they broke up. That was it. A handful of songs, a few years of concerts, that's all I had forever. Sometimes I wonder if they will ever get back together, recreate the magic that I so crave for. But I understand that's not the point. Both artists have moved to create entire landscapes for themselves and reached all new heights. Haber has reached the zenith when it comes to storytelling skills, and now tours the country as a traveling bard while also dabbling in other styles. Tenma, on the other hand, spearheaded a movement to infuse social consciousness into music making, achieving strides with the cashless collective. Things that wouldn't have been considered possible even a decade ago. Perhaps even setting the stage for us to discover Tamil India's most important voice. So it makes absolute sense that they moved on. Maybe that's the point. For there to be only so many songs, so many words to pour over, to read, listen, rinse, repeat, find new meaning, new avenues of thoughts. Maybe less is more. Maybe Kurangan knew that these many songs were just right. But the heart wants what the heart wants. There is that yearning for more songs to take me back to that moment in musicals for that one last show. After all, it is Manida Subhabam.
சொன்னாலும் பட்டா